All right, it's that time of year again, January. And for a lot of businesses, it means falling back into some familiar routines. But what if I told you that one of those habits, specifically how you handle your benefits, is secretly a massive financial mistake just waiting to happen? We're talking about something that could seriously cost your business thousands in 2026. So let's dive in and unpack this.
This quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Routine feels safe. And it's so true. We all stick with what we know because it feels predictable, stable. But here's the kicker. In the world of employee benefits, that feeling of safety, it's pretty much an illusion. And it's an incredibly expensive one. So let's start by looking at this annual habit. We're calling this the January Renewal Ritual. And trust me, it's happening in offices all over the country right as the new year kicks off. You know the scene, right? The holiday whirlwind is over, you're back at your desk, and there's just a mountain of paperwork. And somewhere in that pile is the company health plan renewal. It's just so easy to check the box, sign on the dotted line, and roll everything over from last year. But here's the thing, that's not a strategic decision, it's an administrative reflex. It's just habit. Okay, so why do we do this? Why is this habit so deeply ingrained in how we operate? To really get it, we've got to take a quick trip back in time. Because the system most of us are using today, well, it wasn't built for the modern world, not even close. This timeline really tells the whole story. I mean, think about it. Back in the post-war era, these employer-sponsored group plans were revolutionary. Everybody worked in one place, costs were pretty predictable, it made perfect sense. But then you fast forward, healthcare costs start to explode. And now today, we've got remote teams everywhere. Our workforces are incredibly diverse, and we're getting hammered with these 8, 10, even 15% cost increases every single year, like it's normal. This system just broke. It never caught up to the way we actually work and live now.
And this is the absolute core of the issue. For so long, we were all taught that changing your benefits plan was the big, scary, risky move, right? But that's not true anymore. The script has totally flipped. Today, the biggest, most dangerous financial risk you can take is doing nothing. Sticking with the old way is the gamble.
So let's get real. What does this inertia actually look like in practice? Because this isn't some abstract, theoretical problem. The cost of doing nothing is showing up in a big way on the bottom line for businesses, right now. It really boils down to 3 major failures with these old school group plans. First, the costs. They're a complete nightmare for budgeting. You're basically just sitting there, waiting for that renewal letter to land and bracing for impact. Second, there's zero flexibility. I mean, how can one single plan possibly work for your remote employee in Austin and your team in the Chicago office? It can't. And that leads to the third problem. The value to your employees is tanking. They're less satisfied because the plan doesn't fit their lives, which means you're paying more for something they value less. Ouch. Okay, enough doom and gloom. We've diagnosed the problem, and pretty clearly, I think. The good news? There is a modern solution, a real fix. And let me be clear, we're not just talking about finding a slightly cheaper version of the same old broken model. We're talking about a fundamentally different and way smarter approach. This solution is called an ICHRA. I know, it's a mouthful of an acronym, but forget the name for a second because the concept is so simple, it's beautiful. Think of it this way. A traditional plan is like a company cafeteria that only serves one meal. With an ICHRA, it's like your company gives you a monthly lunch stipend. You can take that money and go to any restaurant you want. The company gives employees a tax-free allowance, and then your employees use that money to go buy the health plan on the open market that actually fits their needs. It's a total shift from a one-size-fits-all group plan to a personalized benefit. And this chart just lays it all out side by side. Look at the traditional plan. Costs are all over the place, totally unpredictable. Now look at ICHR. You, the employer, set a fixed contribution. You decide the budget. End of story. And flexibility? It's a night and day difference. Instead of the company picking one plan for everybody, the employee picks their own. What this does is it completely flips the script from budget chaos to total budget certainty. You are back in control. So this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually make the switch? That's the big question, right? Well, the key here is that this isn't some leap of faith. It's about making a smart, data-driven decision. And that starts with a proper diagnosis of where you are right now. And here's the roadmap. It's a simple 5-step framework. First, you do a historical review. Look back at the last few years.
How much of your premium's actually gone up? Get the real numbers. Step 2, the financial diagnosis. This is where you put your renewal quote side by side with an ICHRA model and just compare the math. Step 3, look at your team. Are they young? Do they have families? Are they spread out? Their needs are all different. Step 4, you design the reimbursement. You figure out a contribution level that's competitive, but also sustainable for your business. And finally, step 5, smart administration. You find a partner to help manage this whole thing smoothly. See, it's a clear process, not just a shot in the dark.
I love this because it brings everything full circle. Stability does not come from repeating the past. Real stability doesn't come from hanging on for dear life to an old, broken system. It comes from designing something for the future. And that's exactly what ICHR is. It's not some crazy gamble. It's a common sense, modern correction to a model that is way past its expiration date. So what do you do with all this? Here is your action plan, plain and simple. Number 1, before you sign that renewal, schedule a real benefits diagnosis. Number 2, demand a side-by-side cost comparison. Make them show you the numbers. 3, think beyond the premium. What's the actual experience for your employees? And 4, if you do decide to switch, plan your communication. Over-communicate. And finally, 5, partner with an expert. Don't try to go it alone. And that really brings us to the final question, the one you have to ask yourself as you head into this renewal season. Is your 2026 benefits plan going to be a repeat of the past, or are you ready to actually design one for the future? A plan that gives you control, you predictability, and your employees the value they deserve. At the end of the day, the choice is yours.